Welcome to the Sports Trading Card Hall of Fame's Sports Card Channel Book Report. I really got to shorten that. I got to figure out a better way to describe it. At any rate, this is a series of videos where I am looking at various sports card channels and giving a brief rundown of kind of what they're like as I explore well, really the key is I'm trying to find interesting sports card channels that are kind of overlooked. And the place where I wanted to start with all of this was channels that are already subscribed to my own personal channels, just giving me a starting point so I can easily go through all of these and have a good, reliable place to find them before I headed out into the endless nebulous of YouTube. Unfortunately, while I thought that there would be 3 videos worth of channels to go by, I actually have run out. I'm trying to look at channels that are 100 subscribers or more, so there's actually a little bit of meat on the bone, as it were. But I have, basically in this video, I have 2 channels that I took from one of my channels, 2 more from another channel, and then since I was out, I've gone ahead and started with one of the channels that's not subscribed to me. And this is a pretty chaotic group, which is really fun to look at just how wide of a variety of channels I'm looking at here in this group. The first channel is Cleveland Sportscards, which is a channel that has actually been dormant for almost a year. This is a COVID era card channel. It's one that was started in 2020. And he did videos for 3 years, and right now we are 11 months away from his last video. So I don't know if he's taking a break or if he just lost the spark. He may get back into it, but his channel never really got too deep. He has 165 subscribers, but he only has 41 videos. And his channel has entirely been about showing off cards in his collection, which is cards in his closet. He likes to focus on vintage cards, but he also does talk about cards and some other collectibles from his time in collecting, cards that are up in his closet that he'd like pull out and look around at. But he's also, as the channel name presumes, he is a fan of Cleveland sports. So he's mainly an Indians/Guardians fan. He's also a Browns fan and a Cavs fan. And so you can kind of see some of that stuff in his room, but it really is a guy just kind of showing off the cards that he has. That's really kind of the key to it. So I don't know if he will come back into it. We'll see how that goes, but this may be one of those channels that's brief couple of years and then off into the ether. The next channel, however, is basically the exact opposite, which is a channel called The Dads Are Here. Unusual channel, and I'm not going to explain it. It's, if you want to know their first video, he does go ahead and explain it, and it makes a lot more sense when he says it. Trust me, it makes a lot more sense when he says it. This is a channel that has 108 subscribers, at least at the time that I'm doing this book report. But that's the key here when I'm doing it, because it's a very new channel. 2024. Frankly, they made their first video after the last video of Cleveland Sports Cards, which means that where one channel has kind of ground to a halt in a way, this channel is now in that void, taking off, and not too fast. I mean, they've got 15 videos, so they're still getting up to speed. And it's composed of 2 guys who are dads, and they're really good friends, and they're also a Yankee fan and a Phillies fan. And before you're thinking some MMA kind of a cheap thrill type of affair, they actually get along really well for reasons I don't know, but they certainly do make it work. Now, like I said, they're still getting up to speed, so they're still feeling out what their channel is going to be. And the Phillies fan didn't even show up on a video until like the 7th video. So there's not really much coordination going on, but I'll tell you one thing. These guys have an incredible man cave. The whole basement, there's a bar down there, a couch. The walls are covered with things like a TGI Fridays, including cards. There are a ton of cards that are on the wall, and a lot of what they were doing early on was kind of showing off their surroundings and the things that they have. And they are vintage guys, but again, it's such a new channel. We'll see kind of where they go as they evolve their channel. But in another type of going from one end of the spectrum to the other, we go from here to a channel that really doesn't need any introduction, but I'm here to do introductions, so I'll do that anyway, which is Baseball Collector, channel by Mike Moynihan, which is, if not the most well-respected channel in the sports card corner of YouTube, it is definitely one of the top 2 or 3. I mean, this is a channel and a host who are just really well loved, and I mean, the guy's a great guy. He really is. So right now there are like titles that are being bandied about and stuff. It's kind of weird in the sport. Well, kind of weird for me to say that with a channel called the Sports Trading Card Hall of Fame, but there are right now titles like the president of sports cards and stuff. If there was anybody to be the ambassador of sports cards, it would hands down be Mike Moynihan. Whether he wants that title or not, it would be applied to him, because he really is that way. And that's kind of the way that his channel is on the sports card community. The channel's been around since '07, and he's been making videos on it for 13 to 14 years at this point. 1,300 videos. I mean, he's put up a ton of videos. But he doesn't do like productions. He's just sitting in front of the camera talking about cards, or flips the camera around and shows off his cards. That's really mostly what it is. And sometimes when he's talking to the camera, he's talking about some not drama in the hobby, but issues in the hobby with things like quality of grading and what company you should go with, and some real lightweight stuff like that. And because he spends most of his time looking at the camera, or seems to spend most of his time looking at the camera, there's a real personal quality to it that helps to make it the channel that is the reason it's so popular. And by popular, I mean he's closing in on 10,000 subscribers right now. So it's a pretty cool mark for him to be closing in on. So hope that he gets there soon. But the channel he's a vintage collector, but he's a post-war vintage collector with one of the most enviable collections of post-war cards, at least on YouTube. In fact, he has a card room which is known as the Beast. And it's, I'm looking around here, and I think that if anybody had a name for this, it'd be The Mess, but his is the Beast. And the reason for that is because he mostly collects cards that are graded, which means that he's able to file them away in almost an office-like setting. He has some binders, he has some cards in boxes, but mostly he does cards that are graded. And so that's kind of what you're seeing when he shows off his cards. And his channel is already in the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame, which is rather fitting because he actually made the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame. He came up with the idea and got it started. He handed the reins over, so he's no longer running it. But the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame, this is where it started from. And so it's, obviously it's good for him to be in it. But I think that's about all I'm going to go with his channel because, well, frankly, most of you probably are extremely well familiar with his channel already. So I'll move on to, well, we're going to a whole nother different kind of extreme, which is for Scorecard Collectables. And, well, he's Australian. This is a channel that is dedicated to Aussie sports. It's fun to hear his accent. It's fun to hear the terms that he uses. But Dave is a fan of AFL, as in Aussie League, Australian Football League. He's a fan of rugby. He's a fan of cricket. And, okay, he's also a fan of wrestling and MMA as well. So there's a little bit that we're used to. There's also a team sport, team league, something like that. Another league that I didn't even kind of get a feel for. But his channel is entirely about pack ripping. I mean, that's all that he does. But it's not just a faceless channel. He's actually in front of the camera quite a bit. And what's most fun about his channel is that a little bit at Christmas time, but mostly at Easter, he does these skits where he has a stuffed Easter bunny that runs around the yard dropping off goodies for him. Some are edible, some are rippable, that he's able to then, in the video, rip open. And it's fun to see those videos the fun of it, the creativity of it, and in my case, the inspiration for, well, I don't need to go into that, but at any rate, these videos are so fun and so well created that, frankly, if John Mangini ever saw one, he'd realize he definitely needs to up his game. It's fun to see that, but it is really fun to hear how he talks, because I mean, things like Aussie League football is called footy, and stuff like that. In fact, he calls himself Scory. So if you really want to see something that is just completely unlike anything we're used to seeing, this is going to be it. It is pretty impressive, and it's a pretty popular channel. I mean, he's been around since 2020, so he is another COVID-era channel, 733 videos, but he's got almost 6,000 subscribers. So he is definitely an entertaining guy. So again, if you're curious, definitely check out one of his Easter videos. It's going to be about a month until Easter pops up. So the next one's going to be a little ways down the road. So if you don't want to wait that long, you can check out one of the ones he's already done. But you'll really get to be able to see the childlike thrill that he has in just making it. So definitely an interesting one. So I guess we're going to go all the way back to kind of where we just were with the last video, which is the first one that I'm doing that is not tied in any way to my own subscriber community, I guess you would call it. And that's A Collector's Dream, which is a channel that is run by a guy by the name of Orlando, which, again, you guys are probably well familiar with. His channel is a very, very well appreciated channel, and he's a very well appreciated guy. His channel's only been around since 2021, which is why this is the first year this is the year he got inducted into the YouTube Sportscard Hall of Fame, because it's the first time he was on the ballot. But I mean, he's already got 3,200 subscribers. So that tells you a lot of what you need to know if you're not already familiar with him. And he does have 250 videos. Now, his videos are all faceless. I mean, to the tune of, I don't think he's ever shown his face on camera. I'm trying to remember if during the YouTube Sportscard Hall of Fame acceptance speeches, if he even showed up on camera there. I don't remember that happening. Maybe it did, but it was, it was a few weeks ago or a few months ago when I saw that. But he is a pre-war vintage guy, and he's got some very impressive cards, but he also has an incredibly impressive first video. I mean, like the single best first video for any sports card channel in YouTube, but probably better than any video of across the entire span of any sports card channel on this platform. I mean, if you haven't seen it, check it out, because you just go, man, that is professional, and why in the world didn't he do another one like that? I think that was the only one, but it is so cool to see. But he's not, while he is all vintage, he's not just sports cards. He talks about, like, my favorite thing that I saw him talk about was a pamphlet that was sent out to baseball teams in, I want to say, the 1880s, that had fabric swatches on it so that teams could figure out what kind of uniform they wanted to order for their team. I mean, he gets into that kind of stuff. So it is a very interesting journey to hang out with him and listen to him talk about his cards. So that means that of all of these videos, every single one of these channels is a hobby channel, with the exception of Scorecard Collectables, which is a pack ripping channel. But yeah, it is. I'm really interested in how varied all of these channels are. And that was the fun of putting this particular video together, is that there was always this evolution of going from this to this to this to this, jumping back and forth. So it was really pretty interesting. But like I said, this is the end of the easy channels for me, and now it's when I got to start getting into finding channels to talk about. So I am very, very open to suggestions about channels that you think are kind of unusual that are worth discussing. Not necessarily channels that don't have very many subscribers, haven't really been discovered, as much as channels that are distinct, unique enough that it's worth noting these different types of channels. So please let me know about that. Also, definitely look out for the future videos that I make down the road. And if anybody is interested in being a part of this, I would really love that, because this is not natural for me. This is not the kind of thing that works well for me, or that I work well for. So I'm struggling as best I can to figure out what to talk about and to go through the videos. So definitely, if anybody wants to be involved, please let me know. Other than that, I really appreciate you watching, so thank you.